Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So, new look, same results. That was the story down in Tuscaloosa yesterday for LSU. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, so welcome back to the channel. Appreciate everyone that supported the channel. Salute to y'all. Yesterday LSU went down to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Uh, you know, New look in terms of some different people that was going to be at the helm. You got interim head coach Frank Wilson. You got a different offensive coordinator calling the plays, right? You saw LSU players walking around with the all-in shirts, and it was a vibe. And Frank Wilson was you can it felt like everyone around the LSU program was super confident going into that game. I was confident. I went on Alabama's subreddit and was talking crap, saying that Alabama was going to be on upset alert. I did some content around that. Alabama fans asked me if I was stupid, uh, and I should have said yeah, but I was delusional, and so I said LSU was going to upset them, and when the dust settled in Tuscaloosa last night, Alabama won 20-9. It was a real ugly game. Some questionable calls by the officials. The sloppy play on both sides. Alabama couldn't run the ball. LSU couldn't do nothing in the goal. In the near the goal line. It just it was just bad all around. So let's just talk about it, right? So obviously Brian Kelly is out the door. Joe Sloan is out the door. And so when they fired Brian Kelly, LSU was going into a bye week. The governor was talking shit, all type of stuff, right? They said, hey, Frank Wilson, you are the new interim head coach. They took the tight ends coach. He was the offensive coordinator, all these things. And I talked about, hoping that Frank Wilson and that offensive staff would sit down with the Garrett Nussmeier and say, hey, what are some things that you are comfortable with? What plays, what concepts are you comfortable with? And that's what we're going to go with. I thought that they was going to lean heavily on, Harlem Berry and Cave Durham and stuff like that. And, you know, the confidence and just the positivity that I had, it didn't, it didn't show up yesterday with the team. LSU offense just managed 232 total yards, zero touchdowns. They couldn't finish drives. They was just undisciplined, fumbling, just all of those things, man. Bama at first the game was close, right? The game was close. Both teams was just kind of like kicking field goals. No one really wanted to do anything. The game was there for LSU to take, but they just couldn't do anything. They just couldn't get any. They just couldn't get anything positive going when they needed it the most, right? And so, for us Tiger fans, it's just the same movie. Frank Wilson is the interim head coach, but it's the same movie, right? Same movie. Kudos to the defense. The defense did what they had to do. They kept the game within reach for LSU. LSU just couldn't get it done. And it's just there's just a snapshot into what this season has been for my LSU Tigers. We did see Frank Wilson bench Garrett Nussmeier in the third quarter. I feel bad for Garrett Nussmeier, man. I get on hand. I talked a lot of shit about Garrett Nussmeier, but I do feel bad for Garrett Nussmeier, and this is why I know I'm probably gonna get cooked by other LSU fans, and this is why I feel bad for Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier waited his time at LSU. He sat behind Jaden Daniels. After Joe left, right, everyone was just like, "Oh, is this going to be Jaden Daniels?" Time. I mean, sorry, this is going to be Garrett Nussmeier's time to shine. And then they go in and they bring in Jaden Daniels, and Garrett Nussmeier had to continue to sit. And he sucked up his pride. He sat. He had a really good year. He had that really good year, and then everyone was just like, man, he's gonna take even more astronomical leaps and bounds this season, and he just hadn't lived up to it, whether it was the injuries or just him not growing, getting stronger, getting better. It just didn't. It hasn't popped for him, right? But I do feel bad for the dude. But he got benched yesterday. He got benched in the third quarter for Michael Van Buren. We did see Michael Van Buren putting the ball where wide receivers can catch it. He had a hell of a throw. But still same results. LSU wasn't able to get wasn't able to get in score any touchdowns or whatever. So, um, you know, it is what it is. LSU had a lot of penalties. It just seems like the referees was just, I don't know, man. It was just LSU got flagged 10 times for 74 yards. And those penalties was just killing LSU's drives, right? Now, some of that stuff was on LSU, but some of it you can probably say the referees was just being, assholes or whatever. But you know, it was just sloppy. It was just sloppy all the way around. Bama was struggling to run the ball. And it was just kind of like for a little while, like a back and forward, and then Alabama striked like they had a really quick strike drive, and they went up right before halftime, and then that was just it. After that, LSU just kind of waved the white flag and stuff like that, and so um, you know like I said, I thought LSU, I thought LSU was going to get the upset, but I also did an episode before that. And I asked the question, I said, how many more games do y'all think LSU is going to win this season? And I also put up a poll and asked, and a lot of people said that LSU was not going to win this game. The people said they wasn't going to win the A&M game. So they was true there. And then now LSU has Oklahoma and Western Kentucky left on the schedule. Oklahoma has not been very good lately. With the quarterback play was very good for Oklahoma, but it hasn't been very good. But the one thing that Oklahoma do have going for them is that they are the number one. They have the number one ranked defense in the SEC, and so that's just another obstacle LSU is going to have to get around. You're talking about a team like LSU who has been struggling on offense all year, and now they're going against a defense who's the number one ranked defense in all of the SEC, and so it's just right now it's just shaping up as a recipe for a disaster. But I still think LSU can beat Oklahoma. It should be a no brainer that LSU beats Western Kentucky, but we don't know that, but it should be a no brainer. But I still think LSU can beat Oklahoma. Hopefully, Michael Van Buren is a starter for the rest of the season. Hey, appreciate your service, Garrett Nussmeier. But hey, Garrett Nussmeier is out the door after this season. They got to start the AD and they got the LSU has a president now. They have an athletic director, which they say they have one, and they didn't know if they had one, so we don't really know if Osbury is going to be the athletic director. That's still kind of like a clown circus going on, but the powers that's going to be reevaluating this roster, right? Like I told y'all, that's going to be reevaluating this roster. They have to see who they have going forward, and you probably would like to think that LSU would like to keep Michael Van Buren on the roster because LSU doesn't have a quarterback commit for the 2026 season. Now they may look to go into the transfer portal and go get somebody and throw some money at somebody, but there's not too many transfer portal quarterbacks that I can think off the top of my head that's going to be. Well, I'm trying to think off the top of my head what quarterbacks are going to be transferring from the teams that they're on now and hopping in the transfer portal. Now you never know, but it's just you don't know. But I would like this for I just wish LSU had somebody on that roster right now that would be the starter moving forward next year. And I think that you have to try to see what Michael Van Buren has um, uh, on this LSU team, and maybe even try to convince him to stay because you gotta recruit your roster. They gotta recruit their roster. They gotta talk to people like Harlem Berry, Cabe Durham, Chadez Green, and all of those guys, DJ Pick, and all those guys, and be like, hey, I know we didn't have the season that we all expected to have, but stick with us, and next year we're gonna come out and we're gonna try to be better, and we're gonna try to have better, more positive results, right? And so you just you got to just see what you got. We kind of seen a little fallout. After the LSU, well, today, a day after the game, 4-star defensive end DeAnthony Lafayette, from the class of 2026, he decommitted from LSU. He has offers from Florida, Miami, Oklahoma, and so, like I said, every time you have a coach that is fired, you're gonna have players that's going to, well, recruits that's going to decommit. Although he's a defensive player, LSU pretty much gutted their offensive staff. The new head coach that's going to come in, he's probably not going to hire Blake Baker unless the president or the athletic director says, no, you are the head coach, but this is who we want to keep on your coaching staff. And no head coach is going to come in, a big time head coach is going to come in and let the athletic director or anyone else tell them who they're going to keep on their staff. So new head coaches normally come in and they bring in their own guys. And so maybe that kid, DeAnthony Lafayette, was just like, yeah, screw that. I'm not sticking around because my coach that I'm going to be playing for, along, on that defensive line, just and the defensive coordinator, they're probably not going to be there, after this season. So he decided to, decommit. And so that's just one of the many dominoes that's going to drop. I do expect one of the talented underclassmen, whether it's one of the freshmen that's playing right now in Hollenberry or DJ Pickin, or maybe a sophomore like Trudez Green to leave. Not all three of those guys are going to stay. It is what it is. They're not going to stay. And you're probably going to see more kids that's in high school right now decommit from this, LSU team. And so, like I said, I had high hopes yesterday and it was looking pretty good, but it was just miserable, watching that game. And, I had to ask myself, what are you doing? Why are you torturing yourself? But, you know, for Alabama fans, I saw a lot of Alabama fans was giving me shit, but also a lot of Alabama fans was saying that, like, man, the fact that we couldn't blow out a miserable LSU squad is a condemnation on their own team, which I was just like, damn, calling us miserable. But I mean, it is true. They only was able to score 20 on LSU, but you know they're mad. It was like, oh, we should have blew them out. We should have hung. We should have blew them out by 4 touchdowns and all of that stuff. And I'm just like, hold up, now we still got a pretty good defense, but they're saying that, oh, it's not. We suck. We're not gonna do anything in the playoffs and all that because they didn't blow us out. So I guess we got a moral victory, right? That Alabama's pissed off that they didn't blow us out. But yeah, in all seriousness, man, just I don't know. It's just disappointing. The next game LSU is playing, it's going to be played at like 11:30 or 12. And I was just joking on Facebook. I was just like, yeah, they just trying to get the season over with quick, man. No one's going to be at that game. And they just like, screw, let's not even wait till, well, they got moved out of that evening TV slot. LSU got flexed out of that TV slot. So that's why they playing, early, midday. And I might actually go to that game. I live about an hour and a half away from LSU. I might drive down to that game because them tickets going to be probably butthole cheap. So I probably actually go to that game and you know, just take it all in and just enjoy it. I haven't been to the stadium in a while. I know they redid the stadium and all that stuff. So I probably actually go to that game, take my niece because she want to go to that game. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. I'm sorry, I just don't have really much to say because I'm disappointed, and I guess we all could have expected this, but y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. LSU fans, y'all let me know what y'all think. And if you have anything to say, if you're not an LSU fan, hey, drop it in the comments too. Let me know. But just if you want to talk about something else, let me know in the comment section. We can talk about it. But yeah, in all seriousness, I appreciate everyone that's been supporting the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Please hit that subscription button and hit that bell notification so you can stay up to date on all the latest drops. And until next time, I'm out.